Oh hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe and share. Please write me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding this video or any other video that I have posted in the past. If you have any suggestion, recommendations of what video that you would like me to make, please let me know. I look forward to hearing from you. In this video, I would like to discuss a well-known Chinese condiment known as fermented black soybean. It is frequently also referred to as black bean, but it's very different from the type of black bean that you find in bean dishes. This bean is a soybean, a kind of soybean that is black. This fermented black soybean frequently used as a condiment to season dishes, particularly in Chinese dishes, but it's also very popular in other countries as well, such as in Japan, Korea, and many Southeastern Asian countries. It is very common in tofu dishes, such as mapo tofu, but it is also popular in the different kind of proteins, such as in shrimp, chicken, beef, and pork. It is extremely versatile. It can be also used in different kinds of vegetable dishes. Now, in addition to use the fermented black soybean in stir frying, it can be also used in steaming. It is an extremely popular condiment in Chinese and Asian cooking. The Chinese word for fermented black soybean is Douchi, and it has been around for a long time. The history of Douchi can be dated back to about 2,000 years ago. Although the exact history of fermented black soybean is not well known, but many scholars suggest that the fermented black soybean might be developed at about the same time as soy sauce. They both subjected to fermentation by yeast. However, the nature of the preparation is quite different. Soy sauce eventually will become a fluid, whereas fermented black soybean remain to be the bean itself. After fermentation, the bean will be mixed with salt, and also quite often it will mix with garlic as well. And using this method, the bean can be preserved for a long period of time. The first impression of the fermented black soybean is its smell. It has a pungent and slightly spicy smell, and it also reminds you of soy sauce as well. And because the fermented black soybean is prepared in salt, it's a good way to add salt to a dish. However, unlike soy sauce, the fermented black soybean also has a bittersweet flavor. And because of its strong flavor, fermented black soybean works very well with food ingredients that is relatively bland or mild. For example, fermented soybean work excellently with tofu. Many different kinds of tofu, when you cook with fermented black soybean, it will really enhance their flavor. It makes the tofu far more interesting. And in many cases, fermented black soybean is well known for cooking a tofu dish known as mapo tofu. In this case, the dish is also made spicy, and it matches extremely well with the fermented black soybean. When you buy fermented black soybean product, it could be quite confusing because it can come in many different forms. Of course, the most basic form is come as a bean itself, and this is the fermented black soybean that has been fermented, and it is then added with salt and quite often with garlic, and they are being sold as just the bean itself. By combining the salt and the garlic with the fermented black soybean, it keeps them relatively stable, and they can store for a long time. And basically, you can store them in room temperature up to several years. However, you can also purchase fermented black soybean in a bean paste. In this case, you just use them differently. Now, the most traditional form of the fermented black soybean comes in this paper carton. It is the classic presentation of fermented black soybean. This carton's design has been around for a long time. At the back of the label, it provides a description of this fermented black soybean. It said Yangjiang preserved beans with ginger is processed by traditional natural method with black beans grown in Yangjiang area and fresh ginger as main ingredients. It has a crisp quality, delicious taste, and rich nutrition, being the best kind of seasoning for Chinese food. In this description, it mentioned the fermented black soybean as black bean. It is important that to make the distinction, it is different from the type of black bean. Sometimes they call it black turtle bean that are used in creating bean dishes from South America and Central America. So when you hear black bean in the context of Chinese and Asian cooking, you should realize that this refers to fermented black soybean, not the regular type of black bean. When you open this paper carton, inside there is a plastic bag containing this fermented black soybean. You notice that the bean actually are slightly moist. And after you open the package, I usually transfer them into a plastic container that with a cap that I can keep in the moisture. This will prevent the bean getting dry. When you store in this arrangement, you can either keep them in room temperature or you can store them in the refrigerator. Now, the fermented black soybean is available online. You can purchase this from Amazon, but you can also find them in almost most of the Asian grocery store, particularly Chinese grocery store. And of course, they are much cheaper in those grocery stores in comparison to what you can get from Amazon. You can use the fermented black soybean in many different ways. First is that you can add them directly to the stir fry. And in this case, the flavor is more intense because the moisture from the stir-fry dishes will release the flavor of the fermented black soybean into the dish. In this case, I fry the shrimp first using a shallow frying technique, and then I add the fermented black soybean on top of the shrimp. This way will allow the flavor to pass out from the black soybean onto the shrimp. This method can be used in many types of stir frying. For example, you can stir fry vegetables. After you get going with the vegetable for about maybe a minute or so, then you can add the fermented black soybean. Again, the moisture from the stir fry dishes will extract the flavor from the fermented black soybean into the dish. The second method to cook the fermented black soybean is to stir fry the fermented black soybean in hot oil first before you add the food ingredients. This method will actually seal in the flavor of the fermented black soybean. So when you actually bite into it, you will get this release of an intense flavor coming from the fermented black soybean. In this case, the dish itself will contain a weak flavor from the fermented black soybean. Now, this method is very useful in cooking dishes that you want the dish itself contains only minimum flavor of the fermented black soybean, but it will more apparent when you bite into it. In here, I use the fermented black soybean to stir fry with some venison. Of course, by varying the amount of the fermented black soybean, you can create different intensity of this condiment. I recommend that you start out with a small amount and you gradually add more depending on how you like it. When you add a small amount, it provides a very mild flavor, but it greatly enhances the complexity of the flavor of the dish. This fermented black soybean will add another tool to your flavoring toolkit. If you are interested, I recommend you to give it a try. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine using my fast cooking system. This will make your home cooking practical, efficient, creative, and fun. So if you'd like to learn more about this cooking system, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.